think it does. We'll see. So I've started recording. So today we are going to take a look at an exercise that will go over strings and dictionaries. And it's actually going to be very, 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 very similar to the Hawaiian homework that you've been working on. So, let me go ahead and screen share. We're going to screen share screen one. Here we go. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to Spring 2020 CAS 1051. And we are going to work on 13, converting Roman numerals. Now, hopefully so I'll wait for people to trickle in, but this is where we want to get to. So everybody's hopefully doing good. You know, I have no idea if this is how long this will continue for, in the sense of like the general situation. But let me go ahead and tell you. Here, I've got a chat message. Let me see. Come on, to chat. What section is this? Ah, excellent. Okay, section. It is dictionary section, but wait, over here, what we're going to do is that we click on. I clicked on the project list. Right, go down to here. Click on 13. This will be today's exercise for the day. Because it's a bit of a doozy. I'll talk more in depth about it, but I want to talk about future plans for what's going to go on in the class. So, so the next exam, I'll be going over strings and for loops in more detail. I'll have to write it so that's so that it can be taken online on Canvas. I hope to have the practice exam to you, let's see, by next Thursday. So I think if we're thinking about stuff, then, right, I'll give you a practice exam by the 26th. And then the exam will be on either Thursday, it'll probably be on Thursday the 2nd. For you. And so let's see, with video lecture, and it will cover what I'm going to do through next week, which will be more about the Monte Carlo methods that we learned about, as well as dictionary counting like this. So you'll get a practice exam. It'll be produced like most of my other practice exams, and then I will promptly make an exam online that you'll take via Canvas. That'll be an experience, I am sure. Let's see. So, close all these windows. Don't need them. Ah, that was one too many being closed. All right. Now I'm just waiting for people to trickle in because things can happen like that. So let's go ahead. I was working on it earlier, so I will delete that. All right. So converting Roman numerals. Let's go ahead and see how many people we have. We have 100 people. That's good. Okay, so I'll go ahead and get started. So, you know, the Romans were basically responsible for a lot of terrible things, and one of which was Roman numerals, which is a numerical system that they devised. And you've probably seen it on clocks and the like. Here are the numbers 1 through 12 in Roman numerals. I. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 is IX. 10 is X. 11 is XI. And 12 is XII. So here so it's fairly straightforward in the sense that basically each number has a value of a multiple of 1 or 5, right? So 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, 500, all the way up to 1,000, right? Now, there are not, but basically the correct way to represent Roman numerals is that there's something other than this additive rule, which is that if a number comes before a value that's bigger than it, you subtract. So 1 minus 5 becomes 4. 1 minus 1 minus 10, that becomes 9. So anytime we get into a situation where we'd be basically having a 4 or a 9 kind of multiple, we do the subtraction rule. There are many numeric systems throughout that have been in use throughout the world. Here's a different one. I recognize that's Japanese down there. Might also be Chinese, but
that's Mandarin, boss.
Mandarin. I know that's the same ones that I know that Japanese uses the same ones because Japan basically took the writing system that China had, and then language happened. So so we've got 1 through 10 here. So anyway, so the guy who did this, who was working on this textbook, he was visiting Gozo over here on Malta. And it had this inscription. So, and it's MDCCCC or CCCC IV. So, which is a faulty rendering of 1,000 plus 500 plus 400. So 1904. So this is 1904. So there are certain rules for Roman numerals, which is that you can repeat it up to 3 times to represent a number. So a character can appear up to 3 times. So 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. Only I, X, C, and M can be repeated. So those are the ones digits, or the base 10s. You got your 1, your 10, your 100, and your 1,000. Your V, L, and D should be are not repeated because you don't really need to do so. VV, that's 5 plus 5, so that's 10. And LL, that's 50 plus 50, so that's right over there, that's 100. So if you write them together in a decreasing order, MC, that's 1,000 plus 100. So boom. And then XVI, that's 1 plus 5, that's 10 plus 5 plus 1, so 16. Following the rules so far for how to write these numbers. Finally, the last number is, so the last rule, which I thought was very tricky, and then I figured out, oh, it's not that tricky. To write a number that would otherwise be take the repeating of a numeral 4 more times is this negation rule. So in other words, if you would have 4 of this, we will instead render it differently so that we can do a negation. So here, IV is -1 plus 5, so that becomes 4. Or MCM XIV, so that's M, that's 1,000, 100, 1,000. So because the 100 came before the 1,000 over here, that's going to be 1,000 minus 100 plus 1,000. So this is, we're subtracting this 100. So it becomes, so MCM is 1,900. And then XIV is 1914. So anybody want to go tell me in chat what 1904 is supposed to be? In Roman? Just go ahead and type it out in chat if you've got it, if you want to figure it out. Yep. So MCM IV, right? Just remove that, remove the X from there essentially. F. Very good. So that's what I got. my end of the things. Okay, so there's an exercise right below this where you can match the Roman numerals over here to the correct Arabic numbers. So go ahead and take a moment to do that to familiarize yourself with comparing or translating from Roman numerals to Arabic numerals, because we want you to be slightly comfortable in there. So go ahead, go to this thing and just do the drop and drag exercise that's right over here, activity 2. I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to do this. In the meantime, I'm going to go and tickle a toddler. Did you hear what I was going to do, Laser? Tickle, 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 tickle. Okay, I won't tickle you. Do it dirty diaper. Okay. Pick you up. Oh, I can't go downstairs right now. I'm trying to teach a class.
Go downstairs.
Well, we can't go. I'm teaching the class. Maybe if you ask Mama, she'll take you downstairs.
Papa, go downstairs. Let's do.
Chat says to bring him downstairs. You gotta listen to the chat. Very clever at bringing him upstairs. Here you go. Then just save it for later. Tell me if you're gonna save it for later. Okay. Wee.
Thank you,
Lisa. All right. How are people? Do people still need more time? Hi, Laser. I'm trying to teach my class. I'm not doing a very good job of it today. Are you tickling me now?
Laser, Daddy's teaching.
They're working on an exercise right now of converting Roman numerals. Oh.
About book. Germs. I know.
Well,
Peter.
hold on a second. His name is spelled Lazer. It is short for Eliezer. All right, so hopefully you've got the instructions over here. Are you waving to the camera, Laser? So here are the correct answers for that. Laser, I do need to work today.
But I.
All right, so the exercise for today, if you couldn't figure it out, is that we are going to be converting from Roman numerals to Arabic numerals and from Arabic numerals to Roman numerals. So, so this is basically a four-part assignment. So now that we're all experts in converting Roman numerals, we will make a program that'll do it so that that'll make it a bit easier for us. All right. So the first thing we want to do is ask the user for a Roman numeral. Then we're going to validate it to make sure it follows all the rules. The number in the picture should cause you to print an error message. In other words, entering this MD CC CC IV will cause us to print an error message. Next, we should, if the Roman numeral is valid, we will convert it. And then we print out the Arabic equivalent. So there's a couple of things that we'll do in this code. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you skeleton code to start with this. So here's how the way this is going to work. I'm going to start you off. I'm going to give you a nice big skeleton code for this. And then I'm going to paste it in here and share it so you guys can all work on it. Then we'll split up into breakout rooms. I'll check in with you guys. And then we will all come back and I will update everybody and we'll break out and come up again until this. You've been working on this for like 5 minutes. Yeah. There's no skeleton yet. I have to write it. So I'm going to write the skeleton first because I want us to all, wait, bring back the wolf avatar. Fine. I will bring back my wolf. Bunch of complainers. Doge, fine, I'll bring back Doge. Let's see. I need to stop video. Launch. Okay. Avatar, Doge. And now switch to face rig and start the video. There we go. Back to Doge. All right, so let's go ahead and work on this for right now. So we've got ourselves a couple of tasks. First thing we got to do is number one, ask the user to enter a Roman numeral. This is pretty easy for us so far. So Roman is equal to input enter a Roman numeral /n because that'll prompt that to be on a new line. Next, validate the number to make sure it follows all the rules. Def validate. Now, I do want to mention this about what there's a particular reason I'm going over this today, because I did mention there's a story behind this. Back in 2016, I did apply for Google, and one of the 5 problems I was asked to solve was actually this problem. And in fact, I'm on Project Euler. Now, they ask you not to reveal some of the problems. Roman numerals. Problem 89 was one of them. There's 6 different ways of writing 16. And then it was, I was doing these things to practice. And then it was basically take this file and not just it didn't want you to validate these things. It wanted you to convert these all to Roman numerals. What? Did I make it during the, no, I couldn't solve it in Google because I wasn't familiar enough with hash maps at the time. So I had trouble with it. So now I'm older and wiser and know how to do these things. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to validate our Roman numeral. And that's going to basically say, hey, is this a valid Roman numeral? I prefer teaching anyway. It's much more fun. And yeah. Hi, Laser. Hi, that's a ball. So validate and now convert. Given a Roman numeral, we will convert from a Roman numeral and we'll return an Arabic numeral. an Arabic number. 0, return Arabic. Okay, and one of the things that we'll need to do, because sometimes we're not, this is silly and it should tell you a hint beforehand. I sometimes hit this to see, hey, is there a hint? Oh, wait, no, there is a hint right over here. You'll want to start by using a dictionary to map every single character or Roman numeral to the correct Arabic number. Laser, I'm trying to speak. Can you bring that to Mama? No, of course not. Hold on one second. Myself muted right now. I'm muting right now.
Laser. Daddy is teaching. You know how we talked about how Daddy usually goes to work, but now he's working here? Do you remember that?
Children have short memories. I don't have Twitch. Can we reach the bit goal before the end of the class? We will see. We will see whether we can get to the end of the class.
I got the ball.
Don't. I make money. I would feel very bad about monetizing any of the content I get paid to do.
I got the ball.
There are very strong ethical questions I need answered about that. So, you know. So, I mean, the best you can do is like spam. The best you can do is just spam rate my prof or something, or rate me well in my student reviews, because those actually get looked at. So let's go ahead and validate and convert. So to validate, this, we've got a couple of rules that we need to follow, and that's actually the trickiest part. But let's go ahead and write the dictionary first. So what we're going to do is the reason we're going to use a dictionary is, and I'm going to call this value, because when we work with it grammatically, it will make more sense that I call it just value. But I'm going to basically just list out all the Roman numerals. So first we have I for 1. We have V for 5. Yes? C for 100. X is equal to 10. L is equal to 50. Got a sad kid pouting in the background because he really wants my attention, and he's got to wait like an hour for it. X, D is equal to, this will be the skeleton code. Yep. Yep, this is something I'm going to copy and paste and use the share code, because why make you guys write this tedious part and possibly make a mistake? And M is equal to 500. Let's go with 1,000, right? So those are the correct things. So there's a couple tricks we need to do for validating this now. Okay. To validate this, there's 2 big rules. Okay. The first is that only I, X, C, and M can be repeated. Okay. I'll share it with you guys. Don't worry, it's not quite there. So I, X, C, M will be repeated. So these guys can be repeated up to a total of 3 times. So we got to count how many I's, how many X's, how many C's, and how many M's. You can use a dictionary for that, or not. L, V, and D should only appear a maximum of once. And then finally, they have to be written. So that's the first thing we'll work on validating, okay? Then the next thing we're going to have to work on validating, part 2, is validating, do these appear in the proper order? And once we get that, we'll work on the much easier task of actually converting. It's actually much harder to check if these are difficult or not. Once we are finished with the final with this part over here, converting Roman to Arabic, Arabic to Roman, we'll be able to actually work on this problem over here and add these and find the number of characters saved by writing each of these in their minimal form. So we'll actually have the tools to do that. Don't know if we'll get there, but we'll see. So let's go ahead and so let me go ahead and get you started. Counts is equal to count is equal to this. All right. So there you go. So first we're going to validate. First step is just counting the number of times each of these appear in your Roman input. So that will be your first task. So I'm going to paste this in here. So this is how I get it to you. You hit share code, share it with all my students. Boom. So it's now shared. Now, if I were to reload it, notice that my code is going to be gone. So it's going to be like this for you guys. Just hit load history. And I've got a lot of history, so boom. Just drag it to the appropriate back if you need to. And there's your code. So I'm going to go ahead and set you guys up into breakout rooms of, let's say, 4 to 5 people. And so you guys can work together on this. I highly recommend one of you sharing a screen or something. So there's 20. Let's go with 25. Let's go with 22 rooms. All right, and your code didn't load. All right, try, if you've got this bar over here, try dragging this. Refresh it and then try dragging this, okay? Man, this chat is really useful. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and create the rooms. You'll automatically be assigned to them because if I try to accommodate everybody, the bar doesn't move. It isn't loading. Jeez. All right, let me hit this again here. Share all students. Somebody has painted it, pasted this in, which is super useful. All right. Show me the code. Well, somebody pasted the code in chat, so go ahead and use that. Yeah, load this one over here, the Roman to Arabic. And let me show. So there's the code. I'll give you a couple minutes to get it, and then I'll set you up in your rooms. And again, you're going to work on the part where you're trying to basically just count to make sure you don't have more than what you need, more numerals than you're supposed to have. You don't have more than 3 I's. You don't have more than 1 V, and so on and so forth. Okay, and this will require you to figure out how to use your dictionaries for one of the most common purposes, which is counting. Okay, and again, I will post it into the chat just in case. All right, it's in chat now. I'm going to go ahead and create the rooms. Open all rooms. Join your breakout room when you're ready. And I'll jump in randomly to a couple of rooms, and then I'll bring you back. So you should work together on this as best you can on this first part. I'll bring you back. We'll work on the second part, and then we'll work on the third. Happy, Happy, do you want to come upstairs? Hi there. So one of you should probably be sharing your screen with the rest of you.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and assign.
So, does anyone know what to do with the validate?
So what you're trying to do is that you are trying to move the you're trying to basically count the number. So given a Roman character, Roman numeral, it's two parts. First, to make sure it's in the right format, second is to make sure it's in the right format, but the first is to count, do we have the right number of characters? So you only want to make sure you have a maximum of 3 eyes. So you don't want so you can use the count variable for that. So what you got to do is create a for loop and basically say, hey, if it's an I, add 1 to the number of I's I've seen. If it's a V, add 1 to the V's I've seen. And then you go through your dictionary and say, hey, make sure I have not seen more than I have.
Yeah.
Try to get as far as you can.
All right. So, how can we get the screen share?
One of you should screen share, yes. It's the button it's the friendly green button on the bottom.
I'll do it.
So what you want to do there is you want to create a for loop. So for car in Roman.
Yeah.
Count of car. So subcar. So the bracket symbol.
Oh,
Count, bracket. Not curly braces, bracket
okay.
of car. No, just car. Is plus equals 1. You've got equals plus, you want plus equals. And there you go. That will count up all the characters. So now you can test and see. That'll count up basically, hey, well, you've got to call validate, and you'll want to remove pass.
So like,
Validate XXVII.
do I make it a
String, yes. And then inside validate, print count. Mm-hmm. Okay, run it. Okay, it's going to ask you to enter a number, but don't worry about that.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah.
See, it correctly counts that. So now make sure that that for each of those, you don't have more than, we don't have to add, you've only got a certain amount. Anyway, I'm going to jump to, basically you want to make sure that like I's doesn't exceed 3 and the number of V's doesn't exceed 1. So you want to make sure that basically that you'll return, that this function returns false if you get, if the value that's mapped to V is 2.
also with the if statement go in.
Yeah, you'll need a for loop and an if statement inside the for loop.
Okay.
Talk about, talk about it among everybody. I'm going to go to another room.
All right, thank you.
Hello. How's everybody doing?
Doing all right.
Good.
Okay.
Any questions on this one? Does anybody want to share their screen and show where they've got it?
I can show my screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we have it so that it goes through all of the ones in
Yep.
the Roman numerals.
And you've got, and that's the count, right? So you don't need a return count, but you've got it. But you've got the gist of it right there to make
this
sure.
was just so that I could see if it's working.
Right. Excellent. So you've got that, and now what you want to do is for every key in your count, you want to check, hey, make sure make sure certain numbers don't exceed what they should be. So like,
Okay.
make sure that if it's I, there's no more than 3 I's. Then this might not be a loop. It might be a bunch of if statements, but it'll be what it'll have to be.
Okay.
So, but that's fairly straightforward. So let's see. Keep getting people who are unassigned. Assigned to. Okay. Okay. And then that if validation statement can be outside of the for loop. So something like if count of I is greater than 3, or count of X is greater than 3, or count of of C is greater than 3, or count of M is greater than 3, return false, right?
Okay.
And then do the same thing, but for V, L, and D, but
okay.
for 1. Okay. Woof.
Hello.
Hi there. How's it going so far?
Poorly.
Yeah.
Poorly? It's not as hard as it seems. So, does anybody want to share their screen? Come on. Somebody volunteer as tribute.
Okay.
Let's see. I was doing
That sounds like a good movie to watch tonight. Hunger Games. All right. So,
I was working in this to see if I could like test it first, but
yeah, that's not how this is going to, how this needs to work at all. Yeah. So I hate to be blunt about that. So let me go ahead and help you clean it up quite a bit. So quest, boom. All right. Get over here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to, so what we need is for letter in, and we can just do for letter in Roman, counts of letter plus equals plus equals 1. And this will actually, that's all you need to add it all up. So for every I it sees, it's going to add 1 over here. For every B it sees, it's going to add 1 over here. X, L, C, D, M. That's it. So then.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Dictionaries are a lot simpler than they seem to be. It just requires a different way of thinking. And so then over here, you're actually on to the right track. So not as terrible as it seemed. Count, but the syntax you were using was wrong.
I have to put count on all of them.
Is greater than 1, or count So your logic was correct. Your syntax was not so much, but hey, I mean, the logic is what's important, right? As you can see, it's very just repetitive, just putting count around all these guys, right? So if the count of V is greater than 1, or the count of L is greater than 1, or the count of D is greater than 1, then that means you've got an issue here. So we'll return false. Well, or flays if you can't spell. Okay, do the same thing for the else if and also return false.
Okay.
Okay, and then if you can get through all of them, return true.
Right.
I'll go ahead and actually, I'm going to go ahead and give up remote control. And I think it's about time to get people back into the main session. We are going to wait for people to join back into the main session, and then I'm going to I'm going to get us everybody up to speed at that point. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back to business over here. So what we needed to do is count up all the characters. So first off, we can basically do a check to make sure that, and I didn't show this to everybody I jumped in with, but one thing we can do is we can do a check to make sure that we don't have any invalid characters, like no A's in there. So for letter in Roman, if letter not in count, return false. Okay, so that will just check to see. That was not something I specified that you had to do, but now that I'm thinking about it, we should do that. Okay, next, let's actually count up the letters. For letter in Roman, and yeah, I could combine it all into one for loop, but why? It's just easier for me to like think of it this way. So for letter in Roman, count plus equals 1. Okay, and then that just will so basically say, hey, if it's an I, I'm going to add 1 to this. If it's a VX, I'm going to add 1 to this. V, add 1 to this, and so on and so forth. And then finally, we will just simply check our counts to make sure that none of them have been exceeded. So if count of I is greater than 3, and then a bunch of copying pasting. Space over here so that I can copy paste the space. Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V. And then M, C, X. So those are basically our numbers. So those are numbers that can only be repeated up to 3 times. So we're saying that there's a maximum number of times you can repeat those. Hold on 1 second. It is count of letter. I missed something. Thank you. It's moving too fast. Count of letter plus equal 1. It very much matters. Count of letter plus equals 1. Thank you. Okay. So now if any of those counts are greater than 3, return false if count of v is greater than 1, or let's see, I believe it is D for 500s and L's for 50s. Remove the extra ifs that I accidentally copied in here. Try to spell as best I can because apparently I cannot. Return false. Otherwise, if it passes all those, return true. And now we test it by basically, we can call validate over here. Validate. Let's go ahead and grab this sucker. Print. Validate. False, which is what we were hoping to see. And then we'll take MCM BI over here. Print. That should be true. Okay. So yeah, and it was asking for input because I put input up here. So now the next thing we have to validate, because we're not done yet, is making sure that the numbers decrease in value from left to right for addition, except for the fact that they can do this whole thing. So first, let's just work on that decreasing left to right thing. So how does that work? And I'm going to do this part, and then I'm going to leave the actual translation up to you. I'm going to do this validation part, and I'm going to leave the actual translation up to you guys because that is more interesting, the conversion over here. It's actually, so, and you'll want to take a page out of this one. So first thing we're going to do is that the last character, if we think about it, the last character is always going to be in the right, is probably going to be in the right place so long as the character before it was okay. So you'll see. So what I'm going to, that may not make sense right now, but let's go ahead and just let me show you what I mean. For I in range, and here we have to go through the indices because we're going to be checking up to, because we're going to be checking like a letter against what's the letter after it. So here we have to use this. So range in length range Roman -1 because since we're gonna be looking one ahead, we need to make sure that we're not looking too far ahead. Okay, or we gotta make sure we're not gonna go out of bounds when we do this line of code, which is this is to make sure we don't. This is going to be making sure that we're that we're not going to go out of bounds. The -1, which is because I'm about to do this. The current letter is equal to Roman of I, and next is equal to Roman of I +1. And since I'm adding an I +1, if I get to the very last letter and if current is at the very last position, very last index, if I do I +1 there, it will go out of bounds, which is no bueno. It will cause everything to crash. So here I'm making sure I'm not going out of bounds there. But it's not like I'm not going to check it. So there's a couple different possibilities here. The first is if we want to make sure that basically that the a couple conditions. It is special. It's a special keyword in Python. So I'll give it a different name, next num. Python doesn't really care if you overwrite special numbers, though, or special words. It just highly recommends against it. All right, if it means next in a collection, I believe, if you're iterating through it. So, but here where I'm saying current num, this is the current Roman numeral. Next num is the next Roman numeral. So what we're going to check to make sure if the current Roman numeral is less than the next number, right? So pretty much it should always be greater than or equal to the number that's after it, right? Right, in most, like over here, this shows that the number should be greater than or equal to the number after it, except we have some cases where that's not true. Specifically, if it's a, specifically if we've got a case where basically we've got MCM, right, that's minus 100 over there. So in that case, we need to either be, so we'll take care of that. But if it's this case, then it's true. So if this condition doesn't hit, it's going to be true. So if I'm bigger than the number next to me, if I'm bigger than or equal to the number next to me, I'm okay. So over here, it's potential that it's wrong, though. So if that's the case, then, and this is what took me a bit of time to figure out. If, oh, and it's not current, it is value of current, because those are just letters. And the value of next number. So that, and where's value? Value, again, is over here. So if the value of this letter is less than the value of this letter, that's potentially wrong. So, and if that's the case, then it's a smaller number. So, and that number that's next to it is if value, so if not, and it's going to be a clause over, a big clause over here. So if not value is less than, let me take this because I'm going to need this a couple times. Copy, paste. Five times, or and I'm just going to type this without explaining it for a second. And there we go. So anybody got an idea what this does? Does anybody want to speak up? What is this check doing? Why did I word this the way it did? I did. To see if it's before a V or an X. Or the other multiple of 10, yeah. So basically I'm saying, hey, okay, if I am less, I should be, or number should be ordered greatest to least, except if I'm subtracting. And so what I'm doing is seeing here is the next number, if it's bigger than me, that's allowed, but only if it's 5 times or 10 times greater than me. So basically I'm saying, hey, if I'm an I, you're allowed to have an I before a V, or an I before an X, or an X before an L, or an X before a C. And so that's what this line is checking. And if it's not going to fulfill one of those conditions, so if not either of those, so let's see. I think this is right. I'm just checking to make sure the logic.
Book. Ice or
You want to look at dinosaurs? Child.
Laser, I can show you dinosaurs.
Dinosaur.
oh, what on it and a showman.
Well, I'm only going to do a dinosaur for a little bit, Laser.
Laser, I can show you dinosaurs.
Go to Mama. She can show you a lot more dinosaurs.
But yet see a robot.
Yes, you can see a robot.
Laser, please come here.
Nope. Robot.
Daddy's still teaching.
I am still teaching Laser for 20 more minutes.
Daddy's still teaching.
He is 3. He turned 3 in January. Oh. All right. So let's go ahead. I'm just want to check this logic. If not, so if it's a 5, if this is true if it's false for both of them, it will return false. There we go. Right. So if it's false for both of them, it's going to return false. If it's true for one of them, this will be true, which will become false. So this block won't go. Happy birthday. It was a birthday in January, I said. So, but okay. So let's go ahead and now see. So this should now validate basically if these numbers are completely correct. Enter a Roman numeral, doesn't matter right now, but we can actually, validate Roman dot upper over here. Okay. So IV false. That's not a good sign there. IV is false. So why did it return false? IV. If it's less than value. Okay. Should return true be, now the return true should basically be inside right over here. This is, if we did a return true here, it would return true after the first time it checked anything. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's just confirm where our problem is. So it's in the block I just wrote. And then IX, XI. So, okay, so our block is over here. So if it's smaller, so I must have some logic over here. If current is equal to, oh, yeah, I reversed it. That was it. There we go. I just reversed it. There we go. Yes, and thank you for Christopher for pointing that out. You are correct in that. It's a bit hard when you've got a toddler. It's amazingly difficult to code. Okay, so now that we've got this, I'm going to copy and paste this into chat for everybody. Shoop. And now, for the last remaining 20 minutes of class, we are going to work on the actual conversion process over here. Okay? Because I think that's all we're going to have time to do today. Really went fast today. So over here, we've got, and I'll make a Canvas Dropbox for you guys to turn in the work for the day. So now to do the conversion, you want to print out the Roman numeral and its Arabic equivalent. So the Arabic equivalent, to convert it to there, well, it's fairly straightforward. You might think, okay, if I see an M, add 1,000 to the total. Basically, I'll create this Arabic total, and then you might go, you might think, okay, you might think 4-letter in Roman, value letter plus equals, not value letter, Arabic is equal to, Arabic plus equals value letter. But there's that trick again, where what if the next value is bigger, in which case you need to subtract. So I'll let you guys work on that. I'm going to break you guys out into rooms. Somebody should share your screen so you can all follow along together. So I'm going to recreate the breakout rooms. Recreate rooms. Recreate all rooms. And then I'll go and open up a Dropbox for today's assignment so you guys can turn it in and get credit. Oh, and yes, I shared this in chat. And Annie, choose a number between 1 and 25.
17.
Thank you. Are there?
Hello.
I would do, so you can totally do a while loop there. What you need is the variable initialized so that you can keep your index. So like index or I is equal to 0 right underneath Arabic.
Oh, okay.
So how would that work?
I is equal to 0. So it's going to work just like the for loop block that we just did. While I is less than length of Roman minus equals 1.
Like that. Wait, no.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Close parenthesis minus 1. Yeah, not minus equals. Minus 1
like that.
and colon. And the reason is that you don't want to go out of bounds. And then copy and paste the current is equal to Roman I. Next num is equal to Roman I plus 1. And the reason in the for loop.
Oh, okay.
Not that one. The one the one we just wrote. The for I in range length Roman minus 1 current equals Roman I.
Oh, current equals Roman
I. Oh, this one?
Yeah, right above it. Right above where.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah. Don't copy the for loop, just the body, the current.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Current, not all the other stuff.
I plus 1 as well. Copy that. Okay. There you go. Boom, got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Put that in the while loop
Okay.
Put it in the while loop. Gotcha.
because you got to grab those values.
Mm-hmm.
And now you seem this, and basically you're going to figure out whether or not you need to add current or are you subtracting current. And that matters if the value of the current Roman numeral is less than the value of the next number, the next Roman numeral. Remember, you got to call value for this. You're going to subtract. Otherwise, you're going to add it to Arabic. And then finally, to make sure you get the last numeral, you add in the last number regardless. So at the very end, you're going to return Arabic plus the very last character, the value of the very last character of Roman.
Of Roman, yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to jump. Another random number? I gotcha. Thank you.
So how is this going to like output again?
You're returning that number to Arabic. You're
oh, okay. So then once we like run it, it'll.
Yep.
Okay.
Hello.
How you doing, Sorry?
Hey. So any idea what you got? So have you guys figured out what to do on this yet?
So far, I basically just took your code from checking to see if it's like an IV or an IX. And then I would do Arabic plus equals the value of next minus the value of current.
Well, you don't want to, you just want to, basically you want an if statement. Only add it if the number after you is greater than or equal to your current value. Otherwise, you want to subtract. So basically, if the number if your next number is bigger, that means you're a subtraction number.
Okay.
So if value of the current is less than the value of the next number, subtract current from Arabic. Otherwise, add current to Arabic, or add the value of current to Arabic. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I got another person asking for help. Or I thought I did. Was somebody asking for help?
Yeah, so oh, you're a dinosaur. Hello.
Hi.
Dude, I'm completely lost. I don't know what's going on.
Fair enough. Okay. So in what sense?
Well, I left for 5 minutes and I just got back, so I don't know what's happening. But
All
no
right.
one else in this room does either, so.
Hey, then you're great company. It's okay. This one's a trickier one.
We've got to split it up into parts and evaluate each.
Right. So what this code did over here is that we count it first. This counts is that we've got three for loops, which basically split up the validate section into 3 blocks. The first, just make sure are all the characters here actually Roman characters. The second counts the number of Roman characters and make sure that you don't have more than you can possibly have for a Roman number. Make sense?
Okay.
This one says, hey, I'm going to look at every single character and I'm going to look at every single adjacent pair of characters. Okay? So for everything, I get the current and I plus 1 is the next guy. Okay?
Right.
So I take a look at this number, or rather this Roman character and this Roman character. And then I convert them into their Arabic values. Okay? If it's greater than or equal to, that's great. Then that's fine. That's all's right with the world. Because, you can do stuff like XI or CXI. But over here, I'm saying, hey, if it's less than that, then I make sure that basically then I've got something valid. I don't want IM, which would be 999. That's not valid. Instead, I can only do IX or IV. I can only subtract from a number that's 5 or 10 times bigger than me. So I say, hey, if I multiply by myself by 5, am I equal to the next number? Or if I multiply myself by 10, am I equal to the next number? If I am, then then I'm following the Roman rules.
Okay.
So now over here, what you're trying to do is we are actually going to use, we can actually grab a lot of this code over here. Okay, and basically say, hey, we're converting this to Arabic. I get the current Roman number and the next Roman number. If the value of the current Roman number is greater than or equal to the value of the next guy, then that means that basically that, you know, addition is from greater than, it's ordered from greater to least, okay?
Okay.
So all I do is say, hey, Arabic plus equals value current. But if it's smaller, then I gotta subtract instead. Make sense there?
Why?
Why? Because that's the way Roman numerals work. Because Roman numeral, and now you, and that the fact that you have to ask why is a great reason, is a great argument against why we don't use Roman numerals anymore. They're dumb.
Okay.
Okay. It's needlessly complicated, right? IV, that is 4, right? You just know that from looking at a clock.
Right.
1 before 5. So here, when you have a smaller number in front of a bigger number, right? Most of the time, numbers are ordered from biggest to smallest. But if you've got a smaller in front of a bigger, that means that you're going to need to subtract.
All right. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. It's a real, once you actually think about it, it's a really dumb system. So,
Okay.
but it's a great programming exercise. So if it's greater than or equal to the value, we're just adding. Otherwise, create an else, subtract. And finally, the last thing you're going to want to do is return adding the value of the very last letter.
Okay.
Because, yeah, the greater than or equal to sign is simply my font, because my font is awesome. Here, I put a space in between them, and I bring them together, ligatures, boom. It's my font. It's called Fira Code. It's nice. I love it. Students hate it. Yeah. I find it to be much easier to read because also notice that my equal signs are big fat like that. So, all right. I'm going to go and, oh, class is almost over. So I will call everybody back.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, no worries. Okie dokie, everybody. So let's go ahead. So the answer actually is fairly straightforward. For this, well, all we have to do is just essentially, I'll show you, essentially take this bit from up here. I'm going to change this to greater than or equal to, and in my font, it will do that, make it a single sign. So that's just my font. So here, what we're going to do is say, hey, Arabic is equal to 0 for every number, for every number in there except for the very last one. I'm going to get the current Roman numeral and the next Roman numeral. And if the value of the current is greater than the current Roman numeral, then, well, it's going to descend. Then it's a descending. Yeah. Okay, sorry. If it's greater than, if you've got a number like this, then this is correct, CXI. So that should be 111. And then this should be 106 and 116, right? The numbers should, by default, go from biggest to smallest. However, and if that's the case, right, here's 108 and 118. So to create something like that, all we do is Arabic plus equals value of current. And then we're going to want to add at the very end, because we're not adding the last character, we want to do value of current. Arabic plus value of current. Oh, sorry, not current. Value of Roman -1. That will get us the last character, because otherwise we aren't adding it. Because the reason is that we are checking one ahead. So for the last character, we need to handle that separately. Now, what if it's smaller? If it's smaller, well, if it's smaller, like, say, in this case, for 14, we subtract. We subtract our current value if I'm smaller than the one ahead of me. Laser, I am almost done, and then I will play with you all you want. What? About a chipmunk?
He asked me to put a stink bug outside.
Oh.
So I did. And now he's sad because he wants to see the stink bug again.
Mm-hmm. And that should do it.
Laser, come here, please. Can you find another stink bug? There are a lot of stink bugs. And they all look the same.
Okay. MCMXII 1912. Boom. And that is how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat if you want it. Apparently it cuts off after a certain amount. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and drop this into here to share it. And you'll want to submit to make sure, submit what you've got to make sure you're done for the day. But I also want to make sure that you guys, you know, yes, please turn this in. I have 319 exercise. Just turn it in here. Submit this, submit the completed program. Here, stop share, share, screen 1. There we go. Yeah, you want to turn it into here, turn in the whole thing. Yes, please. Make sure, well, nah, you're good. But, I mean, spacing, yeah, probably should fix it. But you can also grab this. I've shared it over here on the code. Share code, boom. All right, I'm gonna sign off today for the day because I've got a toddler who is feeling very, very ignored.
Come here. Can I give you a hug?